This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, here on January the 10th, 2023. And folks, we have a wonderful guest on the show today, talking to me by phone here on Zoom because well, he's going places. Because he's going
Yes.
places, we can't do video, but that's okay, folks, as long as you can hear us. Folks, I give you the awesomely talented voice actor and actor, Bob Gluberman. How do you do, Bob?
I do very well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on your show. And
Yeah.
can you? I'm uninitiated. Can you explain the python hyena? Are you a python or are you a hyena?
Well, I have a love for African wildlife, especially snakes. I love the python, but I like the hyena as well because snakes and the spotted hyena are two of the most misunderstood animals on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, we used to have a ball python, and we never had a hyena, but we had a ball python as a pet, and then
yeah.
all of a sudden one day the ball python went crazy and started striking at her cage. Her name was Cleo. We loved her, but she started striking at her cage, like hitting it, like she had been injected with that virus from 28 days later or something. And so we had to donate her to an exotic wild animal rescue place because it was too dangerous to keep her anymore. So I love pythons, but not when they go crazy.
Yeah, I hear you, Yeah, python is usually what people call me, but I like both animals. Like I said, snakes, they are very important to the environment because they control, apparently, um, was amazed to discover that they eat more pests and rodents than birds of prey and cats.
Right, right, right.
Yep. And the
Yeah, none,
hyena,
none of none of that's bad. None of that's bad.
yeah, and the hyena, a lot of times they scavenge and they say they got stomachs like cast iron, and they clean up a lot of stuff that's damaging to the environment as well.
So the fact that you are the python hyena, does that mean that you eat a lot?
No, although I keep myself fed, but I do clean up though because I when I'm not doing this, I work at a hospital here in housekeeping.
Oh, you
So,
do. Oh,
yep,
that's great. That's great.
yep, I did the overnight shift last night, and well, the story last night was I guess some meth addict went into the one of the waiting room washrooms and was lighting up, and the sprinkler system
Oh,
went on in the two waiting room washrooms, and there was brown water. Luckily, it was getting contained, but the alarms went off and whatnot, and just the washrooms were, well, at least one of the washrooms were really damaged, but firefighters and police were called, and yeah, that was my night
oh,
last night.
oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, we got it
I never thought
contained.
that. I never thought that New Brunswick was a very dangerous place. I always hear about New Brunswick being very sedate, very very friendly, very calm, and that's sort of not like we have out here in certain areas of Arizona, New Mexico.
Well, you know what? It's funny because we don't have a lot of crime here, but when you work in a hospital, you see all sorts. When you like, I think the
Yeah,
ER is probably the busiest unit in a hospital, and
right, of course.
not yeah, not to take away from any of the other units, but the ER is the most chaotic, and I see a lot of times, they put the meth addicts or whatnot in the rubber room or whatnot. We get security there, and yeah, I seen some strange folks. But
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet.
yeah, but last night was a real special case of nuts. but it
Wow.
got contained and the waiting room wasn't damaged, and things got cleaned up. Just one of the washrooms was kind of a write-off, but you know.
Well, I'm glad to have the Python Hyena here, well and rested and ready for business.
There we are. Yes. Yes, I was happy to make contact with you and have you come on. And I know it was funny because when I initially reached out to you, I had mentioned Win a Date with Tad Hamilton, which I saw in the theaters when it came out, and you mentioned you had such a small part. Yeah, but you got to be
Teeny tiny part.
Kate, huh?
Yeah, yeah, teeny tiny part. They say that there are no small parts. That's a Hollywood adage or a thespian adage that there's no small parts. This was a small part. I was a limo driver picking up Kate Bosworth.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. You get to pick up the beautiful Kate Bosworth. You know what? That's
Exactly.
I'd take
Exactly.
that.
I got the girl. I got the girl. I got to drive her. I got the girl, and I got to pick her up from the airport and drive her to where she had to go. And it was, working on a movie is great because um, you that I think was maybe 2 days of work, and if it's a drop and pickup deal, and I don't remember, that was very far back. That was in the '90s, but I believe that I worked for a day. Then they dropped me. They held me for a couple of days. They have to pay me for the days that they're holding me, and then they pick me up again. So 2 days of work becomes 5 days of work because they
Hmm.
pay you for all the times that they're holding you. I'm about to do a movie where I have another 2 days of work. I'm flying to Cincinnati, and that first day of work is going to be 5 days of work because they need me to fly out to Cincinnati. The travel days count, hair and makeup, costume, wardrobe. They shoot, and then I fly back. That's the first 5 days. Then a couple of weeks go by. Then I fly out. They have to fly me back to LA, and then they fly me back again to Cincinnati, and that's another 5 days of work. So I have 2 days of work, which becomes 10 days of work. So it can be a very lucrative job. It's once you get the job, it's a great acting is high diddly d an actor's life for me. It's a great business to be in. It's just getting the jobs is so difficult.
What was Kate Bosworth like? I mean, I wouldn't mind picking her up.
She was lovely. She was lovely. This was right after Win a Date with Tad Hamilton was right after she did Blue Crush, Blue Crush. Yeah, I think Blue Crush or Blue Wave, which was her breakout role.
Blue
And
Crush, yeah.
this was when she, yeah, and this was when she went into more mainstream Hollywood role. This was before she. I believe that she. This was her second biggest role, and she was lovely. She was, very sweet, very talkative, and made it very easy on the set.
I've heard good things about her. I saw this in the theater, and one of the things that it reminded me of is those old talk shows or game shows where you get the two people in separate quarters, and it's kind of a dating game thing. I forget what they called that now. It's escaping me. But this kind of reminded me of that because, everybody went crazy over the guy, and
Right.
yeah, and then you got Topher Grace, who feels a little inferior, because it's just like, back in the 60s where all the girls went nuts over the Beatles, and it's like you couldn't
That's right.
compete with that.
That's right, exactly. It was a sweet little movie. It came and went, but it pops up every once in a while. When you're an actor, you can tell where your movies or television shows or cartoons are airing because you'll get your residual checks. And so I get residual checks from Win a Date with Tad Hamilton quite frequently. So they play it a lot.
Yeah, I like the movie, you know. It was a romantic comedy, but it had something different to it, you know, and it wasn't recycled, you know. It had some of the generic stuff in it, but I liked the characters in it. I enjoyed the story to it, and I had a lot of fun with it. But speaking of romantic comedies, I mean, you went from winning a date with Tad Hamilton to getting into some dirty love with Jenny McCarthy, which was up for major Razzies.
Yes, that's right. That was the year when I was in the best movie of the year and the worst movie of the year. I
You
was
were in
in
The Artist,
the
yep.
best. I was in The Artist, which won the Oscar for best picture, and I was in Dirty Love, which won the Razzie for worst film. I don't know how many actors can tout that achievement, but I've done so. I think that's kind of like getting an EGOT, an Emmy, a Grammy, Tony, and an Oscar. So this is I was in the best film of the year and the worst film of the year. I can tell you that Jenny McCarthy was fantastic. And the thing that made that role so wonderful is I got to vomit on her breasts. It was fantastic. It was a dream of a lifetime. I peaked in the first couple of years when I started acting, and I don't think I've ever achieved that. Nor will I ever achieve that goal again. Even though I'm about to be in something with Harrison Ford coming up on Apple TV, it's still not puking on Jenny McCarthy's breasts. So I was Jenny McCarthy's blind date. She was trying to make her
Milo.
boyfriend jealous. Milo, yes. She was
Y-
trying to make her boyfriend jealous. Although why anyone would want to make her boyfriend jealous by going out with me it just evades me, just eludes me. But nonetheless, the scene was fantastic where she kept holding my head in her breasts, and I was very intoxicated at the time. This was at a fashion show. I would then get up because I was sick. She then pulled my head back into her breasts. I pulled my head back up. She pulled my head one more time into her breasts because it's comedy, the rule of threes. And then I pulled my head out and then vomited on her breasts. And they gave me a mixture of like pea soup and beans to hold in my mouth and then sort of dribble them onto her breasts. And it was fantastic. Now, a quick, funny little story about that scene. As wonderful as that scene is, it was even better because in the sides in the script, where before I vomit on her breasts, I'm making out with her. I am making out with Jenny McCarthy. I got the role. I downloaded the sides, and in fact, I think I was faxed the sides. This was during when fax machines were all the rage. How old are you? How old are you, Gilbert?
I am 50.
Do you remember fax machines?
I do. In fact, I remember in
Yes,
Office
yes.
Space, they beat one to a pulp with a baseball bat.
There you go. There you
Yep.
go. Yeah, I wanted to beat them with a baseball bat as well. But there was a time before online downloading sites online where you would get them from fax machines. And so I downloaded the sides. I got them from the fax machine where I would be making out with Jenny McCarthy. I would be making out with her, and then I would vomit on her breasts. I was so happy. I brought them to my wife, and I said, Stephanie, guess who's about to be making out? Guess who has two thumbs and is about to be making out with Jenny McCarthy? This guy. Well, unfortunately, on the set, the scene right before we shot the scene, her breasts fell out of her shirt, and they caught it on film, and she liked it so much, and everyone liked it so much that they decided to keep it. And she came to me and said, "You know what, Bob? I buried the lead. I was making out with her and playing with her breasts, playing with her breasts with my hands. My hands were going to be on her breasts, playing with them, her bare breasts, while I was making out with her. This was the role of a lifetime. Well, she came to me and she said, "Bob, unfortunately, we're going to cut this part because in the scene right before, my breasts came out of my shirt. We thought it was very funny, and we decided we're not going to repeat this scene. Is that okay with you?" And I wanted to say, actually, no. Actually, I would like to go back to the previous. You know what? Let's shoot them both, and let's see which one we like better. But no, that was not the case. I said, "Yes, Jenny, whatever you say is fine. You're the boss here." And inside, I was screaming in slow motion. But nonetheless, I'm still very proud of that scene, and I think it's something that I can show my grandchildren and say that this was your grandfather vomiting on Jenny McCarthy's breast.
Talk about preparing for that scene. Like you had the pea soup and the beans and whatnot. What was
Yeah,
her attitude like with this?
Jenny McCarthy is a lot of fun. I
Mhm.
mean, a lot of fun. She's got a great sense of humor. Let's be honest, the script was terrible. The movie was terrible. But she wrote this movie, and in this movie, I mean, the movie's out there. For better or for worse, Jenny McCarthy wrote herself having a menstrual explosion in a shopping in a going up and down the aisles, all over the aisles. She wrote me her playing with her breasts and then vomiting on her breasts. She's out there, man.
Yep.
Sense of humor, and so she was uh, uh, she was all. She's a very physical comedian,
Yep.
dating Jim Carrey. But on set, she was a lot of fun, just cracking jokes left and right. And so it was all I could do to not break and not to dribble pea soup everywhere. And so my only preparation was to just is to keep the pea soup in my mouth as my face was buried in her breasts, and then having to remove them and then drop them down again 3 different times before letting it spew, as it were, all over her. So the only preparation was trying not to break and just having a good time. The job of acting, this was not so much acting as it was just play vomiting on someone. But the job of acting is just being, I think it was Spencer Tracy who said, just remember your lines and don't bump into the wardrobe, into the furniture. And so for me, it was just trying to vomit on cue. But
There
she
you
she was
go.
great.
Well, you mentioned you went from you got worst picture and best picture. Talk about the
Yeah.
artist. Now that must be incredible to be part of a best picture winner.
It was fantastic to be part of a Best Picture winner. It was, especially since the scenes that they would show in the Oscar clips that they would show were the ending scenes, the ending climactic scene. Spoiler: when the lead two characters finally emerge from obscurity, it was the movie was about the silent era and silent film actors who have difficulty making the transition to um, uh, the era of sound, something that
Yep.
was done in Singing in the Rain, and this year in the Brad Pitt Margot Robbie movie Babylon. So
Love Margot
and
Robbie.
Margot Robbie's gorgeous and very talented. And obviously, this is something that was done in The Artist. So it's a phenomenon and a theme that Hollywood keeps coming back to. Um, during the sequence that they showed in these clips, I'm sitting right there next to John Goodman. So I'm all over the Oscars. I'm all over the clip shows. I'm all over the Golden Globes. I'm all over Variety and Hollywood Reporter. And it was great. It was great exposure. It was great having my face out there next to John Goodman. John Goodman was a freaking blast. He was so great. I'm a big fan of Big Lebowski, and so I just kept talking to him about Big Lebowski and
Love that
Blues
film.
Brothers
Yeah.
and all the Coen Brothers movies he was in. I asked him if he had any idea that Big Lebowski was going to be as big of a success that it was, and he said nope. He had no clue. He had no idea that it was going to be. He said when you're making movies, you have no idea how they're going to be received. Quite frankly, I had no idea how the artist was going to be received. I auditioned for a silent picture, and I thought, well, this is kind of weird. No dialogue. And I just, even though I spoke the first spoken word in The Artist, where I say cut as the director in the when the movie goes from silent to sound. Um, but John Goodman was fantastic. It was so strange being in this silent film, and then to see it go into theaters, and then to see it be nominated for Best Picture, and everyone loved this movie. And I thought it was a cute little movie. I didn't think it was a Best Picture, but thank goodness I'm not voting because obviously people liked it better than I did. So yeah, no, it was great. And I can't say what it is, but I'm going to be in a movie coming up. This is the one that I'm going to Cincinnati for, and it has Oscar pedigree all over it.
Oh,
I've
nice.
signed a non-disclosure. I've signed NDAs, and so I can't say what this movie is or who's in it. But it shoots in Cincinnati, and it could very well be when I'm on your show next year. It could very well be we could definitely be talking about the Oscars next year. So it's always great to when you get a particular role and then you find out that your co-star is, say, Harrison Ford. I'm in a show called Shrinking with Harrison Ford, which is going to be on Apple TV coming up. I think it airs this week. It airs the 17th on Apple TV. So, and that was a dream come true to work with Harrison Ford.
Oh, I'll gladly have you back next year. But yeah, talk about.
Thanks, Gilbert.
Oh yeah, gladly. Talk about working with Harrison Ford.
He is as good. They say never meet your idols. Well, didn't that expression does not hold water with Harrison Ford. He was a delight. He was so freaking funny. He was a professional. He was, he at the end of the my wife told me, you're going to be working with Harrison Ford. Don't take a picture with him. Don't take a picture with him. When you work with these, with these gods, with these celebrities, you're so tempted to, say, excuse me, Mr. Ford. I know it's not that professional, but could I take a selfie with you? But she said, don't do this, Bob. Don't do it. Just do a job, be professional, and leave. He'll be much. He'll respect you much more that if you don't ask for a selfie. Now in retrospect, I wish that I did ask for a selfie, because at the end, I went up to him and I said, Harrison, this was a dream. This was a dream. If you had told 13-year-old Bobby that he was going to be working with Indiana Jones or Han Solo, he never would have believed it. This was a dream for me. He got all red in the face and he said, "You're sweet. You are really sweet." And that was it. That's my dream come true, is to have an impact on Harrison Ford, to work with him. He was great to work with. He was great to I have a really nice scene with him, and I don't know when it will be airing. I'm not sure if Apple TV is going to drop every episode on the 17th or if it's going to go week after week. But the show is called Shrinking, and it's with he's one of the stars, and the other one is I'm blanking on it now because I'm older than you, Gilbert. He's the guy. He was the husband from How I Met Your Mother. The guy who's married to Allison Hannigan. He was in Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh,
Blonde haired.
oh,
What the heck is
um,
it? Jason.
Jason
Jason.
Segel.
That's it. Jason Segel.
I
Jason Segel.
love Sarah
My scene was
Marshall.
not with.
Yep.
Yeah. The scene was not with Jason Segel. It was with Harrison Ford, and he was great.
There you go. Well, you've
Yeah,
also done a lot of voice work as well, like
I
Digimon
have.
the
Yes.
movie, and various
Yeah.
others. D- which do you prefer, acting on screen or doing voice work?
I love acting because I love acting on screen. Voice work is great, but more often than not, you're not working with other actors. You're working with with a sound guy, and you're in the case of Digimon, you're dubbing, which perfectly honest, is not that rewarding. I don't like dubbing to to match the mouth flaps in the case of Digimon or some of the other Japanese to English cartoons that I've done. I much prefer the cartoons where you are some of the things I've done, like Handy Manny, Men in Black, Godzilla. Um, a lot of the cartoons that the animation where I worked with the director Susan Blue, who's great. Um, Recently, and all that stuff is great. Don't get me wrong, but I prefer um, just sort of the improv to
Yep.
act with other actors in environment on a sound. I think it's very rewarding. I prefer that. The benefit of a voiceover job is it's very quick. You make a lot of money very quickly. An acting gig can be like a week, one day of work. Coming up in Cincinnati, I've got 1 week to shoot a single scene where I don't talk at all. So I've got 5 days for one job where I don't have any dialogue, as opposed to I could say a page of dialogue in an hour and a half, and I'm done with the voiceover job for the day. An hour and a half, and you're done, as opposed to 5 days. So it's the voiceover work is much more efficient. You're in and out much quicker, and so those are the pros and cons to animation versus live action.
There you go. Well, I got my television set up where I watch my Blu-rays, so I don't watch a lot of TV, but I know you've got a lot of TV credits. And I was
Yeah.
wondering if you pick two or three your most enjoyable TV works that you've done that stand out to you that you'd like to talk in detail about.
Okay. Uh, there was a show called Ally McBeal
I
way
remember
back in the
that.
day with Callista Flockhart. That was Harrison Ford's wife.
Yep.
I divorced her, ex-wife. So, and I was her bad blind date. In fact, I played the bad blind date 5 different times. So I don't know what that says about me. I played the bad blind date to Callista Flockhart, the bad blind date to, as we've mentioned, Jenny McCarthy, the bad blind date to Carmen Electra in a show
Oh,
called Fat Actress, which was the late Kirstie Alley's show.
Mm-hmm.
Bad Blind Date 2. There's two more. I'm blanking, but I played the Bad Blind Date 5 different times. So I
Now,
got that going for me.
here's a question. Did you throw
Yeah.
up on the breast of every one of them?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't. But thank you for remembering. No, I didn't. But in Ally McBeal, Ally runs away from me. I'm very boring. I had no personality in that one, and I turned out to be a religious person. Ally pretended to be a lesbian in order to get away from me, and I became I was a very religious, devout Catholic, and so which, by the way, I've never been a devout. I've never been cast as a devout Catholic. If your viewers IMDb me, you'll see I am very Jewish looking, and there's nothing Catholic about me. But nonetheless, through the magic of television, I was transformed into a very Catholic, homophobic, devout Orthodox Catholic person. So anyhow, so I loved that. I loved doing that. I also loved being on the Goldbergs. That was very fun. I was on the Goldbergs with Jeff Garlin and the whole cast of actually. Quick shout out to Jeff Garlin. I've been on about 3 or 4 different Jeff Garlin shows. I was on Arrested Development with Jeff Garlin. I was on Curb Your Enthusiasm with Jeff Garlin. I was on Goldbergs with Jeff Garlin, and 1 or 2 more is escaping me. Jeff Garlin is freaking hilarious. He's
Mm-hmm.
hilarious on set, and one of the most inappropriate human beings I have ever encountered.
Oh, nice.
Just very, very vulgar, which I loved. And he would currently just out of the blue start singing about grandma. I don't know if I can curse on your show. Can I curse on
Go
your show or
ahead.
not?
Go
All
ahead.
right. He would start singing grandma's cock. Grandma's cock. Grandma had a cock. Grandma's cock. And so I was on Arrested Development. I went up to him and I started singing Grandma's cock. He thought that was hilarious, and he said, "Hey, everyone, this guy just started singing about Grandma's cock." So he loved it that I brought that back. That was a callback. So, but I just think the world of Jeff Garlin.
He'd be a suitable partner for Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, you know what? I know you're traveling, and you're in your car and talking to me on speaker. But I gotta say, it was wonderful having you come on here today. I was happy to. I especially loved the Jenny McCarthy story. I gotta say.
Gilbert, thanks for having me. I love talking to you, and please bring me back. I'd love to talk to you again.
I'll put you on my roster for next year. I imagine we'll talk
Okay.
about that Oscar picture you got coming up.
Yes, and I predict it will. I predict, knock wood. We'll see what happens, but I've kind of a sizable part, at least for me, and we'll see what happens.
Well, before I let you go, I got 2 things. Number 1, do you have
Yeah.
like a web page or any charities or whatnot you want to plug on here?
Don't have any charities, but what you should check out fantasticrace.com. That is that's a scavenger hunt, treasure hunt business. It's the reason why I'm driving from Phoenix to Los Angeles. We're setting up I set up these like various treasure hunts in various different cities. So I just set up one in Phoenix, and if you're interested in learning about it, go to fantasticrace.com. It's like the Amazing Race, except fantastic. Kind of ripped them
Mhm.
off. So fantasticrace.com, and it's sort of like a big treasure hunt We have them in various cities all throughout the world.
So it's not like treasure hunt trying to find where Jenny McCarthy's breasts are so you could throw up on them.
No, I don't think so. I think they're safely tucked away in her shirt, and I think that they're fine. And but they are a treasure. So anyone who does find them will be quite pleased.
There you go. And also, would you mind doing a plug for my show before I let you go?
Absolutely, I would love to.
Just state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Okay. Hi, this is Bob Glouberman. You're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Absolutely. Yes, folks, tune in, go to the scavenger hunts and check out Bob Glouberman on, well, he won a date with Tad Hamilton. He got to drive Kate Bosworth.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat that. Well, until you're in Dirty Love, where you get a date with Jenny McCarthy and you end up throwing up.
Check out Shrinking with Harrison Ford. That's coming on Apple TV on January 17th.
Drinking with Harrison Ford. You know what? That's gonna be hard for you to top working with him.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, this one coming up doesn't top it, but it equals it. Let's put it that way.
You know what would do it for me? If I was working with
Yeah.
Emma Stone, that I would melt.
Oh yeah, she's. I love Emma Stone. I love Emma Stone, and I'm from Phoenix, and Emma Stone's from Phoenix as well. She
Yeah.
actually went to Xavier. She went to Xavier High School, which is right across the canal from my high school, Central High School. She's much younger than me and much more famous. But yes, I love Emma Stone. She was wonderful in La La Land. Wonderful.
Emma Stone's my current celebrity crush, and
Yes, yes.
yeah, but I could just listen to her talk, like she's fun just to listen to.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. Well, anyway, man, I thank you so much for coming on here today. Safe travels to Los Angeles, and yes, I'll
Thanks,
gladly
Greg.
have you on next year.
All right, sounds good. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care and God bless.
You too. Take care, Greg.
Yeah,
Bye bye.
bye bye.